"We don't need old men like you dragging us down," she said, flipping her hair like firing me was just an item on her to-do list. "My name is Raymond Cole. I'm 59 years old, and until 10 minutes ago, I was the operations manager at Northbridge Dynamics, a company tucked into the steel belt spine of Canton, Ohio. I had been there for 19 years, not the loudest in the room, not the guy who gave rousing speeches or chased headlines, just the one who made sure the machines ran, the numbers balanced, and the orders shipped. I didn't argue, didn't raise my voice or beg to stay. I gave a slow, dry smile, nodded once, and walked out of Kendra Hale's office, her shiny new corner office. No drama. Just silence. I headed back to my workstation, started clearing it out. A stack of notebooks, a framed photo of my wife, a screwdriver said I never left in the tool cage because I didn't trust anyone else to sharpen them properly. 19 years packed into a box the size of a carry-on, and no one said a word. Some of those employees I passed on my way out. I trained them when they were barely 19, fresh out of trade school, hands shaking when they touched a lathe for the first time. Now they were senior technicians, managers, some with families of their own, and still not one met my eyes. I don't blame them. Fear does that. Kendra, the CEO's daughter, had come back from San Diego 6 months earlier, fresh off her MBA, dripping with theories about lean growth and disruptive synergy. Her first week, she asked me why we still used pneumatic presses when she'd read somewhere they were inefficient. I told her that sometimes efficiency isn't about speed, it's about trust in the machine. She didn't get it. But here's what she didn't know, what she hadn't even bothered to review before making her power move. My contract, signed, personally by Victor Hale, her father, the founder. He'd inserted a clause back in 2010, ironclad and untouched, stating that if I were ever terminated without documented cause, the company owed me 2 full years of salary as severance. No exceptions. Victor had insisted on it back then, said he wanted to make sure I never got lured away by competitors. And now, his daughter had just made the costliest executive decision of her life. I placed my box in the passenger seat of my truck, sat there for a minute, hands resting on the wheel. Through the windshield, I could see the production floor, the same machines I'd rebuilt myself, the systems I'd designed, the people I'd hired, and I knew. None of them were ready for what happens when the company's institutional memory walks out the door. I didn't slam the door, didn't squeal the tires, I just started the engine, shifted into drive, and went home to call Daniel Reese, a lawyer friend who's been waiting for a clean, airtight case like this. He's about to get one. My father disappeared when I was 11, walked out one night, and never came back. My mom raised 3 boys, working double shifts as a receptionist at the county health clinic in Starkville, Ohio. Life never handed me anything easy, just chances. And even those, rarely twice. By the time I was 41, I was coming off a layoff from a dying auto plant. My resume, nothing but grease-stained uniforms and a 2-year degree in mechanical systems from a forgotten community college. That's when Victor Hale called me in. He didn't care about resumes. "Credentials don't build machines," he said, squinting at me from behind a pair of scratched-up safety goggles. "Men with judgment and grit do." He hired me on the spot. Within 2 years, I was running operations, not because I was flashy, but because I knew what broke, what bent, and what never should. Victor wasn't warm. He didn't do happy hours or high fives. But when Linda, my wife of 29 years, was diagnosed with late-stage ovarian cancer, he didn't ask questions. He rearranged my shifts before I even knew how to ask. Family first, Ray, always. That's the kind of man he was, and maybe that's why I stayed even when the cracks started showing. The first warning came about a year ago. Kendra, fresh, back from business school, wrapped in designer coats and trailing the scent of coastal ambition, started showing up at meetings, talking about operational optimization and eliminating redundancy. She questioned everything. Why we still manufactured in-house. Why we had a full-time quality control team. Why some vendors hadn't been swapped for cheaper options overseas. I'd catch Victor wince at her proposals. Ideas that would have gutted our standards. But he never pushed back publicly, just fixed the mess quietly afterward. She needs to learn, Ray, he told me one day, leaning on my door frame, eyes tired. Some lessons can't come from books. The second warning was worse. 3 months ago, Victor called me into his office and handed me the updated org chart. Kendra's name was at the top. He said it was heart issues. I didn't believe him. He looked defeated. I made her promise to keep the core team intact, he said, not quite meeting my eyes. You, Marcus, Ellie, you're what makes this place work. I nodded, but something inside me tightened. The way he looked away, like a man watching his legacy walk into the fire and pretending the heat didn't burn. The morning after I was fired, I sat at my kitchen table, the smell of stale coffee filling the silence. Daniel Reese, my attorney, was on speakerphone walking me through the contract. That's when my phone buzzed. Victor's name, I almost ignored it. Almost. But 18 years of respect doesn't disappear in 24 hours. Ray, he said, his voice strained. What the hell happened? Ask your daughter. I did, he said after a pause. She claims you were resisting the new direction, undermining her leadership with the floor team. I said nothing. Just let the silence speak for itself. Victor knew better. He knew I didn't play politics. I played systems. You're going to file, aren't you? Already did, I said. Daniel's handling it. Another pause. A heavy exhale. I told her, check the contracts. I warned her. Hell, I put those protections in place myself. He sounded more tired than angry. She said she cleaned house. You, Marcus, Ellie, everyone over 50. My jaw clenched. She hadn't just fired me. She'd torn out the soul of the place. Ellie Torres had run the quality control lab at Northbridge like it was her own personal kingdom. Not because she demanded authority, but because she earned it. Every batch, every spec, every flaw, she saw it before the machines did. Marcus Delaney had led engineering for over a decade. You could blindfold him, hand him a blueprint, and he'd still know if something was 3/1000ths of an inch off. And just like me, they were gone. Fired, cleared out, erased. I asked Victor the question anyway. Is this what you wanted? Clearing out the people who built the place with you? There was a long pause on the line. You know it's not, he said, his voice quiet, almost hoarse. But I gave her control. It's hers to run now. In the background, I could hear raised voices. Kendra's voice, sharp and clipped like she was barking orders at a waiter who got her drink wrong. Victor's last words. We're rushed, I've got to go. The call ended. I stared down at the pages spread across my kitchen table. Section 14, Paragraph 6. In the event of termination without documented cause, as defined in Appendix C, the employee shall receive severance equivalent to 24 months of current salary. Daniel had already highlighted it. It's airtight, he'd said earlier. They'll either pay or we take them to court and win. They'll pay my fees too. I stood, walked to the back window. The oak tree Linda and I planted 27 years ago was towering now. We'd nursed it through 2 storms and a lightning strike that split it down the middle, patched it, braced it, and it grew stronger. That's when I realized this wasn't just about the money, it was about value, about experience, about what happens when a legacy gets handed off to someone who only understands spreadsheets, not sweat. I picked up my phone, called Marcus. Then Ellie. By noon, I'd talked to nearly every senior employee Kendra had dismissed. Some were stunned, others furious. All of them lost. Take a breath, I told each one. Check your contracts, then call Daniel. Then I made one. More call. Douglas Kerr. owner of Iron Ridge Components, a supplier across town who'd been trying to poach me for years. Still interested in that conversation? I asked. 3 days after getting fired, I sat across from Kendra Hale and a young corporate lawyer in a sleek downtown conference room. Daniel sat next to me, briefcase open, my contract neatly laid out on the glass table like evidence in a trial. Kendra barely glanced at it. "This is ridiculous," she said. "We're modernizing. That's cause enough." Daniel, calm as ever, tapped the page with his pen. Termination without cause, as defined in Appendix C, requires severance equal to 24 months of salary. He paused, looked directly at the lawyer. Roughly $312,000 in Mr. Cole's case. The lawyer, fresh out of law school if I had to guess, scanned the document with growing discomfort. He looked up, hesitated. "Miss Hale, the clause is specific. Cause has to be documented. Patterned behavior, performance reviews, warnings." "He was resistant to change," Kendra snapped. "That's insubordination." Daniel didn't flinch. "Show me documentation, emails, reports, written warnings." The young lawyer flipped through a folder so thin it might have been empty. "Nothing." Kendra crossed her arms. "Fine. We'll offer 6 months and move on." Daniel smiled politely, closed his briefcase. "Then we'll move on to court." He stood. I stood with him. But before we left, I said one thing. This isn't about the money anymore. It's about what happens next. The corporate lawyer, maybe 26 at most, flipped through a folder thinner than a fast food napkin. "Nothing." Kendra's jaw tensed. She exhaled through her nose, trying to keep control. "Fine," she said flatly. "We'll pay a few months' severance and move on." Daniel didn't blink. 24, he corrected, "as stipulated in the contract." "That's absurd," she snapped. "We'll offer 6 months. Take it or leave it." I stayed silent. There was no rush. Let her sweat in her own boardroom. In that moment, I saw something in her face, a flicker of someone I used to know. That sharp jaw, the way she locked her eyes in a stare. She had Victor's fire, but his stubbornness had been used to build. Hers was pointed like a wrecking ball. Daniel closed his briefcase with a soft click. "Then we'll move to litigation. Discovery should be fun, especially regarding the sudden dismissal of multiple employees over the age of 50. The young lawyer's eyes darted up. He leaned toward Kendra and whispered something urgent. She waved him off like a child tugging her sleeve. "Before you make threats," Kendra said, ignoring Daniel entirely, "you should know we're prepared to fight this. You'll be tied up in court for years." It was the first time I spoke. "I've got time. And word gets around. It won't just be a lawsuit. It'll be a cautionary tale. Nobody wants to partner with a company that treats legacy like dead weight." She paused, then delivered the lowest blow she could find. "Good luck finding another position at your age." And that's when the door opened. Victor Hale. I hadn't seen him since his retirement party. He looked thinner, paler, but his eyes were the same, sharp, weary, and disappointed. "Kendra," he said quietly. "A word. We're in the middle of something, Dad." "Now," he said. It wasn't a request. They stepped out into the hallway, separated by a glass wall. I could see Victor gesturing, his voice rising. Kendra's arms folded defensively. She shook her head. But when they returned, she wouldn't look at me. "Justin," Victor said to the young attorney, "prepare the severance paperwork, as written." "Dad," Kendra started. "Not now." He turned to me. "I'm sorry, Ray. This wasn't how it was supposed to end." I nodded once. That was enough. Daniel and I stood to leave, but Kendra stepped in front of me. "This isn't over," she hissed. "I'll be reviewing all vendor relationships. Any company that hires you can forget about doing business with Northbridge." Victor winced at her words, but said nothing. I just nodded again. "You're right about one thing," I told her. "It's not over." The severance hit my account a week later, $312,000. More money than I'd ever seen at once. It should have felt like justice. It didn't, because this wasn't about money anymore. That afternoon, I met Marcus Delaney, former head of engineering, at a diner halfway between our homes. 3 p.m., empty booths, truckers at the counter, just us in the back. "Daniel got me a year's severance," Marcus said, stirring his coffee. "Not bad, not great. They want you to sign anything? NDA, 5 years. Can't talk about methods, designs, basically my entire career." He laughed, bitter. 40 years in this industry and suddenly I don't even own my own thoughts. "You gonna sign it?" "Don't have a choice. My granddaughter starts college this fall." I slid. A business card across the table. Douglas Kerr. Iron Ridge Components. He's looking for a consultant, someone who understands precision hydraulics. Harper'll sue me. Not if you stick to general engineering standards. Nothing proprietary. Just knowledge. He pocketed the card. "Ray, what's going on?" I hadn't told anyone yet. But Marcus deserved to know. "I'm partnering with Iron Ridge," I said quietly. "Douglas is launching a new division, custom hydraulics. Small batch, high margin. The stuff Kendra calls a waste of time." Marcus leaned back, stunned. That was Victor's vision. He always said custom work was the future. She's killing it to chase volume. "And losing ground fast?" I said. He didn't reply. But I saw it in his eyes. Something had shifted, and it wasn't just about employment anymore. It was about building again. "She thinks she can compete with overseas pricing?" Marcus scoffed. "She can't. Not with domestic labor costs." I nodded. Victor knows that too. But I don't think he sees what she's really doing. Marcus leaned forward. "Is that why you're telling me this? You think Victor's involved?" I shook my head. "No, but I had lunch with Ellie yesterday. She's still got eyes in the building." I pulled out my phone and showed him the photos. Invoices. Auction listings. A spreadsheet from internal systems. She's been liquidating equipment, over $2 million worth, sold for pennies. Marcus's eyes widened. The specialized hydraulic line? Victor invested in that last year. "Gone," I said. "At auction prices, she probably got 30 cents on the dollar." He sat back, silence stretching between us as the realization settled. "She's stripping the company," he said slowly, "converting assets into cash. And guess who's been buying property in Miami?" Marcus let out a low whistle. "Jesus. Does Victor know?" "I don't think so," I said. "He built Northbridge to last, for legacy, not liquidation." We sat in silence, not for ourselves, but for the 100+ employees still inside, for everything we helped build, for every shop floor worker who thought loyalty still meant something. "What are you going to do?" Marcus asked. "Build something better," I said. 2 months after I was fired, I sat in Douglas Kerr's office, reviewing architectural plans for a converted warehouse on the east side of Canton. This would be the new home of Iron Core Systems, a precision engineering firm built on what Northbridge had lost: custom work, skilled people, and shared values. The name had been Marcus's idea. "Build from the corners up," he said. "That's how you make something that lasts." Douglas, broad-shouldered, sleeves rolled, beard full and gray, spread out contracts across the desk. "Machine shops are confirmed. We'll have our first 5 units ready by next month." He gave me a grin. "That CNC programmer starts Monday. Former Northbridge guy. Said you told him we were different." "Jason Wright," I said. "Brilliant with CAD. Vanessa cut his budget in half and doubled her own salary." "How many is that now?" 7, I replied. "And counting." Douglas let out a low whistle. "She's bleeding talent." "People follow leadership," I said. "Not slogans." My phone buzzed. A text from Ellie, still working inside the lab, waiting out retirement, but quietly feeding me what mattered. A photo, internal memo, delays, client complaints, missed shipments, 3 major accounts threatening to pull contracts. Handed the phone to Douglas. He adjusted his glasses, just like we predicted. The brain drain's hitting output. I nodded, but didn't smile. Northbridge wasn't a logo to me. It was people, families, mortgages, retirements, college tuitions. We should reach out to Redline Manufacturing, I said. Let them know. We'll be operational in 60 days. Already scheduled, Douglas said, jotting a note. They're eager to talk. I walked to the window. Below, our floor crew was installing new equipment. Quiet, focused, no fuss. Just action. It looked nothing like revenge. It looked like a beginning. That's when my phone rang. Victor Hale. I glanced at Douglas. I should take this. He nodded and stepped out. Victor. Ray. His voice was quiet, tired. We need to talk. I'm listening. I know what you're doing. The new company. The employees you're hiring. I didn't say a word. It wasn't illegal. I'm not asking you to stop, he continued. I'm asking for your help. That stopped me. What kind of help? The kind that might save what's left. What exactly are you asking me, Victor? Come to my house. Tonight. 7. Bring Marcus if he's willing. The board wants to talk about options. Options. He hesitated, then spoke with the voice of a man reclaiming something he wasn't ready to lose, including a change in leadership. I looked out the office window down onto the production floor of Iron Core, our machines humming, our people focused, our future unfolding one weld at a time. I'll be there, I said, but I'm not promising anything. Fair enough, Victor replied, voice softer. And Ray? Thanks for still picking up the phone. 6 months after being fired, I stood quietly in the back of Northbridge's main conference room. The quarterly meeting had just been called to order. Kendra stood at the head of the table, flanked by her new executive team. Bright, polished, all under 35, and visibly nervous. I wasn't scheduled to speak. The board had made that clear. Let her present first. Halfway through her presentation, full of graphs, jargon, and deflection, she saw me. What is he doing here? She snapped, pointing at me. Victor, seated quietly among the board, nodded to the chairman. The man stood. Kendra, the board has reached a decision. Her face drained of color. You can't be serious. The chairman turned to me. Mr. Cole, would you care to explain the new arrangement? I stepped forward, holding a folder. The same one Daniel had used to defend me. But this time, it held something very different. Northbridge Dynamics will merge with Iron Core Systems, I said. The board has approved the agreement. Kendra laughed, brittle, panicked. I'm the majority shareholder. Victor rose. No, you hold 20%. I retained 51. He looked at me, and I just voted for the merger. Marcus stepped in from the doorway. I'll be leading operations. Kendra flipped through the documents. Her hands shook. This is betrayal. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't beg for recognition. He just built something better and let results do the talking. If that story hit different, if you've ever been underestimated or forced to start over when they thought you were finished, welcome to Alpha. Revenge. Hit like if you've got your own story loading. Hit subscribe if you believe real power speaks after the silence.